In this lesson, we're going to see how to solve for a specific variable in a given equation. So in the first example, we were asked to solve for r in the equation, so we need to somehow at the end of the problem get r equaling an expression. So the first thing you might notice on the right-hand side of the fraction that there's an r in the denominator. So we could easily multiply both sides of the equation by 1 minus r. That would leave us only a c on the right-hand side of the equation. And then on the left-hand side of the equation, we can distribute the s to each of those terms in the binomial and get s minus rs equals c. Now I'm still solving for r, so the next thing I'd want to do is subtract s from both sides, leaving me negative rs equals c minus s. And the last step in solving for r would be to divide both sides by negative s. This would give me r equals c minus s over negative s, and we've solved for r. In the next example, we're being asked to solve for h. So I'm going to notice that I can, on the right-hand side, see a term that doesn't involve an h, so perhaps I would want to subtract 2lw from both sides. I would be left with a minus 2lw on the left equals 2lh plus 2wh. Now I'm solving for h, so I also notice that each of these terms on the right-hand side have a 2h. So I could leave the left-hand side alone, factor out the greatest common factor 2h from each of the terms on the left-hand side, and then I can divide both sides by 2l plus w, 2 times L plus W. Then I can simplify the left-hand side, which would allow me to solve for h. So now I have h equals a minus 2lw over 2 times L plus W, and I'm done. Now this last one's a little bit more interesting. Now don't get tripped up by all the r's. So I'm trying to solve for r2. R2 is what I'm solving for. So maybe I want to look for the least common denominator. The least common denominator is going to be r times r sub 1 times r sub 2. Now, on the left-hand side, I'm going to multiply by r times r sub 1 times r sub 2. I'm going to multiply each term on the right-hand side by that least common denominator. And let's see what we can, how we can simplify some of these terms. Okay, so that's going to leave me with r1, r2 equals r2 plus r1. Now we're trying to solve for r2. I notice that each of these terms have an r sub 2. So perhaps I want to subtract this r sub 2 from each side. Now, you can't cancel anything out, but I'm left with r sub 1 on the right-hand side, and I'm left with r sub 1, r sub 2 minus r sub 2 on the left-hand side. Now I'm trying to solve for r sub 2, so I can factor out an r sub 2 from the left-hand side. And then I just need to isolate the r sub 2 by dividing both sides by r sub 1 minus r, and I've solved for r sub 2. So in each case, you were given an equation and you were asked to solve for a specific variable.